Hi everyone! I hope that you are good today. My name is Daniela, also known as Miss Dani, and as usual, I have a story today in English. Of course, this is one of my favorite stories. This book is actually very famous, also written by an author that is super worldwide famous. But I have some clue for you first. A penguin. This is a Chilean penguin that my brother gave me once when he went to Punta Arenas, and it's related to the story. Not the fact that it's Chilean, but the fact that it's a penguin. This penguin, it's a very important part of the story. And another super clear clue that I have for you today, it's a craft that I did once. I haven't told you, but I really love embroidery, and this is one that I made before, like 2 years ago. Look at this. I'm actually very proud, and with this, probably you already know what book we are talking about, right? And if you don't worry, we're going to listen up now. Do you like it? Look at this beauty. I'm so proud about this. I'm sorry. This is my favorite picture from this book. Do you know it? Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffers, worldwide known author. Very handsome also. But this story, it's beautiful. I love it since the first time that I read it. And now we're going to listen up together, right? Are you ready? So, first of all, there's a penguin on the cover, a boy, and an umbrella. Please repeat after me. Boy, penguin, umbrella. Very good. So, now we're going to listen to the story Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffers. Look, what's this? Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffers. Once there was a boy who found a penguin at his door. The boy didn't know where it had come from, but it began to follow him everywhere. The penguin looked sad, and the boy thought it must be lost. Could be. Look how sad it is. So the boy decided to help the penguin find its way home. And guess what? He checked in the Lost and Found office, but no one was missing a penguin. He asked some birds if they knew where the penguin came from, but they ignored him. Some birds are like that. The boy asked his dog, but the dog floated away. He didn't know either. That night, the boy couldn't sleep for disappointment. He wanted to help the penguin, but he wasn't sure how. The next morning, he discovered that penguins come from the South Pole. But how could he get there? Good question. He ran down the harbor and asked a big ship to take them to the South Pole. But his voice was much too small to be heard over the ship's horn. Look, we can barely see the boy and the penguin. Did you find them? Together, the boy decided he and the penguin would row to the South Pole. So the boy took his rowboat out and tested it for size and strength. He told stories to the penguin to help pass the time. That's nice. Then they packed everything they would need. A scarf and umbrella. That's right. And pushed the rowboat out to sea. They rode south for many days and many nights. There was lots of time for stories, and the penguin listened to everyone, so the boy would always tell another. Just like me and you. They floated through good weather and bad, when the waves were as big as mountains, until finally they came to the South Pole. The boy was delighted, but the penguin said nothing. Suddenly, it looked sad again as the boy helped it out of the boat. Then the boy said goodbye and floated away. When he looked back, the penguin was still there, but it looked sadder than ever. It felt strange for the boy to be on his own. There was no point telling stories now, because there was no one to listen except the wind and the waves. Instead, he just thought. And the more he thought, the more he realized he had made a big mistake. The penguin hadn't been lost. He had just been lonely. Quickly, he turned the boat around and rowed back to the South Pole as fast as he could. At last, he reached the pole again. But where was the penguin? The boy searched and searched, but he was nowhere to be found. But then the boy saw something in the water ahead of him. Closer and closer he got until he could see the penguin. Aww. And so the boy and his friend went home together, talking of wonderful things all the way. The end. Look, I want to show you this. This is actually the South Pole. Now, do you recognize this picture in this book? Do you remember the scene? It's not the same on the cover, as you can see. We have just the penguin alone. It seems that he's going somewhere. Do you remember that part? Remember that the penguin was alone. Do you know why the title is Lost and Found? Because the boy thought that the penguin was lost, so he wanted to return it to the Lost and Found office. But at the end, the penguin just wanted to be his friend. That's cute. And, well, remember this penguin. This one is from Punta Arenas. And if you think Punta Arenas is very close to the South Pole, look, I'm going to put a map in here. And if you can see the South Pole, it's near of here, Chile. Well, a question. Do you remember how the kid figured out that the penguin was coming from the South Pole? Doing what? If you guessed, congratulations. He did it by reading a book. And I don't know if you can see. It's about where penguins come from. And now we know that penguins, like this one, not so like this one, come from the South Pole. So, I hope that you like this story. I just love it. And, well, take care, stay home, stay healthy, and see you in another video. Bye!
Oh, wait, are you still there? Oh, if you do, great, awesome. Look, I have some draws that I want to share with you, and actually this appeared on the newspaper The Guardian once. So even when I'm super talented too, I'm not as much as Oliver Jeffers. So he's the owner of these draws. And that publication, Oliver Jeffers himself, teach all of us how to draw penguins. Do you want to know how to draw penguins? By Oliver Jeffers? So, if you are ready, take a pen, some copybook or sheets, colored pencils, or anything that you want to use to draw penguins. So here we go. Are you ready? Let's do this. How to draw a penguin by Oliver Jeffers. 1. We all know how important it is to draw from real life. So step 1 is borrow a penguin. 2. Okay, so it's pretty tricky to borrow a penguin and they are quite expensive. So buying one, it's out of the question. If you fail to complete step 1, then step 2, it's find a photograph of a penguin. 3. Can't find a photo? Alright, I'll show you. As you can see from this study of the anatomy of a penguin, it is made up of only 3 parts: head, body, and useless wings. It's important to get this right. 4. Let's get the proportion first by drawing a circle on top of a bigger circle. 5. The bigger circle is the body, drawing how it meets the head. 6. Now for these wings, which look like 2 sausages on either side. 7. Penguins look like waiters, so let's give him his white shirt by coloring in his head, wings, and sides black. 8. It's time to add his beak, which is a blob of orange in the middle of his face. While you are at the orange, do a bit on the fluff on his neck. 9. His eyes are 2 dots of white paint. Where you put them, change where he's looking. 10. Let's decide where the sun is. For the sake of argument, we will say it's to the right. This means we put in a shadow to the left and make his belly fluff a bit darker on the left too. 11. We are ready for the final touch, his feet, which are really just 2 blobs of orange at the bottom of his body. 12. There you go. You now have a penguin and you can make him do whatever you want. See? Well, if you like it, please send me your draw of your penguin and we are going to share it with the community on Instagram. So now, see ya in another video. Bye!